Have you ever looked at a duck and thought, "That's a detective"? Probably not. But today, you will. Meet Quackers, the mallard with a mission. He doesn't just paddle around looking for breadcrumbs. He's on a case. And his case? The mystery of the missing snail. It all started last Tuesday. A peaceful morning by the pond. Sun glinting off the water. But for one of the pond's oldest residents, Sheldon the snail, it was anything but peaceful. Sheldon, famous for his exceptionally shiny shell and leisurely pace, was gone, vanished without a trace. The other pond critters were in a tizzy. Where could he be? Enter Detective Quackers. He waddled onto the scene, his green head held high, surveying the area with an intensity usually reserved for spotting a dropped piece of popcorn. His first order of business, securing the crime scene, he chased away a few overly curious pigeons, letting them know with a series of authoritative quacks that this was now official duck business. Quackers began his investigation by interviewing witnesses. First up was Beatrice the butterfly. She fluttered nervously, her wings trembling. "I saw him yesterday," she whispered. He was polishing his shell near the big lily pad. He seemed so happy. Quackers nodded grimly, making a mental note. The victim was last seen near the big lily pad. A crucial clue. Next, he questioned a family of turtles sunbathing on a log. They were less helpful. "Snails, ducks. You all move too fast for us," grumbled the oldest turtle before slowly blinking and going back to sleep. Quackers wasn't deterred. Every good detective knows you have to sift through a lot of dead ends to find the truth. His investigation led him to the muddiest part of the pond bank. He examined the ground with his webbed feet, pushing aside leaves and twigs. And then he saw it. A faint, slimy trail leading away from the pond, heading towards the old oak tree on the hill. It wasn't Sheldon's usual leisurely slime path. This one was erratic, wiggly. A sign of a struggle. Or a snail in a hurry. Quackers followed the trail, his detective instincts on high alert. The path led him up the grassy slope, farther from the water than any snail usually dared to venture. He passed a grumpy badger who told him to mind his own business and a squirrel who tried to sell him a slightly used acorn. Quackers stayed focused. He was a duck on a mission. The trail ended abruptly at the base of the giant oak tree. Quackers looked around. No snail. No shell. Nothing. Was this it? A cold case? He refused to believe it. He circled the tree, his keen eyes scanning every inch of the bark, the roots, the surrounding grass. He noticed a small, almost invisible crack in the tree's trunk, near the ground. Putting his beak close to the opening, he listened. He heard a faint, rhythmic tapping sound. It was faint, but it was there. With a determined quack, he used his beak to pry the piece of bark away. And there, nestled inside a cozy little hollow, was Sheldon the snail. But he wasn't alone. Next to him was another snail, a female snail with a shell that shimmered with pearly colors. And next to her, a cluster of tiny, brand new, miniature snail shells. Sheldon wasn't missing. He hadn't been snail-napped. He developed. He and his new love, Shelley, had run off to start a family in secret. The rhythmic tapping Quackers heard. That was Sheldon, proudly tapping his shell against Shelley's in a snail version of a happy dance. He looked up at Quackers, not with fear, but with gratitude. He had wanted to tell everyone, but he was shy. Quackers looked at the happy little family and felt a sense of pride. He hadn't just solved a mystery, he'd uncovered a love story. He gave a soft, understanding quack, replaced the piece of bark to give the new family their privacy, and waddled back towards the pond. As he reached the water's edge, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The other animals gathered around, eager for news. Quackers stood before them, puffed out his chest, and announced, "The case is closed." He explained that Sheldon was safe and had started a new chapter in his life. There was a collective sigh of relief, followed by cheers and chirps. Beatrice the butterfly fluttered with joy, and even the grumpy old turtle managed a slow, approving nod. Detective Quackers had saved the day once again. From that day on, Quackers was more than just a duck. He was the pond's official private eye. He solved the case of the stolen cattail fluff, located Mrs. Frog's missing tadpole who was just playing hide-and-seek, and even figured out who was leaving mysterious ripples in the water at midnight. It was a mischievous otter, of course. So, the next time you see a duck, take a closer look. You might not just be looking at a simple bird. You might be looking at a hero, a guardian, a master of deduction. You might just be in the presence of a detective. And if you've got a mystery, you know who to call. Just leave a trail of breadcrumbs. He'll find you. The legend of Detective Quackers lives on, a reminder that heroes come in all shapes, sizes, and species, and that sometimes the greatest adventures can be found in the most unexpected of places, like a quiet little pond with a very observant duck. Thanks for joining us on this little adventure. If you enjoyed Quackers' story, make sure to like and subscribe for more tales from the wild side. See you next time.